Coming up, nurses threaten to go on strike. Nurses threaten to strike over a 1% pay rise offered to England's NHS staff.
ITV Lunchtime News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good afternoon. The government is facing the prospect of NHS workers, including nurses, going on strike over a proposed pay offer, which has been described as a kick in the teeth. Ministers today defended the 1% pay rise to staff in England, saying that is what is affordable. But the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, urged ministers to think again and award doctors, nurses and others a real terms increase above the rate of inflation. Our political correspondent, Daniel Hewitt, has the latest. Well, there has been a dramatic drop in the number of COVID cases across the UK today. Latest figures from the Office for National Statistics Infection Survey show that in the week up to the general downward trend, the picture is uncertain in some areas of England. I'm joined now by overall, though, those numbers positive.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that may be due to what, 20 million vaccines already now.
Yeah, it has to be. In some English regions, though, the trend is uncertain, says the ONS. What's that mean?
Yeah, that's regional variation, and the concentration seems to be in the northeast. And
on air, Dan, now the R value, which of course shows if the virus is growing. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so that's day, and we've still got 250,000 people across the country infected.
The Duchess of Sussex has said she feels liberated now that she has left the royal family. In another clip released before that big interview on Sunday with Oprah Winfrey, Meghan said that she and Harry now have the ability to make their own decisions. And our royal editor, Chris Shipp, joins me now. Chris, a bit of an insight into the timing of this interview then.
Yes, a little bit of an insight. And actually, look, if anyone does...
Also, Chris, what can we read into the language used here?
Well, you've kind of got it there. You know, I think if you speak to anyone in the royal...
There's just for a moment longer, Chris. We describe these little teasers that we're getting, almost like bombshells, aren't they, really? What do you think the palace will be making of all of this?
Well, the view at the palace suggests he's out of ICU. He's able to go back to... One would imagine, yes. You know, they say that he's going to get...
Thank you very much for that update. And, of course, that full Harry and Meghan interview will be shown right here on ITV. Oprah with Meghan and Harry will start at 9 p.m. Well, another news, a 79-year-old woman with leukemia has been left with horrific injuries after thieves tried to steal her mobility scooter. Now, a farmer in Cumbria has had a very lucky escape after he and the quad bike he was riding were swallowed up by a giant sinkhole. A reminder of our main stories this lunchtime. The government... And that is all this lunchtime. I will be back later with the ITV Evening News at 6:30. The news where you are follows the national weather. But from everyone here on the lunchtime team, bye-bye. Hello again. Now the main stories in London. London's domestic violence charities have told ITV News that the extra £19 million announced in funding doesn't go far enough. In Wednesday's budget, the Chancellor said that some of the money would go toward piloting a network of respite rooms, creating 132 new bed spaces. But charities say more money could be spent elsewhere. The organiser of an illegal party in Hackney has been identified and now faces a £10,000 fine. People were found partying in shipping containers on Trowbridge Road on the 7th of February. They were off. Almost 140,000 Londoners are dealing with life-changing long COVID, according to the London Assembly's Health Committee. Long COVID. Today's the last day of homeschooling for parents across London as many prepare to send their children back to school from Monday. All pupils in England will be allowed to return, with activity clubs restarting too. Some families have told us, though, they'll miss the extra time with each other. Now, blue skies to start the day, but how is it looking for the weekend? Here's Philippa with the weather. Now, she's given us hits including Out of Reach and Dreams, and singer Gabrielle hasn't stopped there. Good nurses in England take strike action over the government's 1% pay rise.
News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good evening. The Health Secretary tonight insisted the 1% pay offer to NHS staff in England is fair, saying these are challenging times for everyone. Matt Hancock said there are issues of affordability and they're not having their pay frozen like millions of others in the public sector. But there has been anger and outrage from nurses' unions who have now raised the prospect of strike action. They also warn many may now quit the profession. Well, Labour has urged the government to think again. Our political correspondent Libby Vina has the latest. And the tireless work of the NHS has now resulted in 40% of adults in the UK receiving a first dose of the vaccine. The rate of infection is also continuing to fall, prompting the Health Secretary to say the plan is working. Well, the latest data shows UK infections are at their lowest since October, and a sixth person infected with the Brazilian variant has been found in Croydon. Well, our health editor Emily Morgan is here. So, Emily, the first signs that infections are falling as the vaccine continues.
Similar falls in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland as well. He said with confidence that shows the impact of the vaccine finally working. So we're
positive news there, but also the sixth person with the Brazil variant has found.
That's right. Health authorities have found this sixth person that they were. So, as he just said, extra testing will now take place in Croydon. Extremely contagious. So, with luck, it's been contained.
Yeah, with a bit of luck, hopefully. Emily, thank you. Well, the return of pupils to schools across England on Monday is expected to see the number of infections rise. To try and limit that, secondary schools are testing students for coronavirus 3 times in the first 2 weeks. But a survey for ITV News has found many teachers fear it will impact on teaching time, and they don't think it will keep schools safe. Here's our UK editor Paul Brand on the school tests. The Duchess of Sussex has spoken of how she feels liberated after leaving the royal family. In another clip from her and Prince Harry's interview with Oprah Winfrey, Meghan says they can now make their own decisions and speak freely. Well, it's being overshadowed, though, by bullying allegations against the Duchess, as our royal editor Chris Shipp reports. Still to come on the ITV Evening News. Those stories and more after the break. Welcome back. Cyprus says it will open its border to British tourists in time for summer as long as they've been vaccinated. Holidaymakers who had both jabs can travel there from May. Foreign holidays are still likely to be illegal for Britons, though, until at least the middle of that month. But as our consumer editor Chris Choi reports, it is another sign that for some it could be summer as usual. Police in South Wales are dealing with a serious incident in Treorchy. They have A pensioner has been left with horrific injuries after thieves tried to steal her mobility scooter from outside her home near Gateshead. 79-year-old Ida Brown, who has leukemia, was left with severe bruising. The community has rallied round to support her, and police are hunting those responsible. A warning, this report from our correspondent Dan Rivers has graphic images of Ida's injuries. Pope Francis has started an historic trip to Iraq in spite of concerns both about his security and the impact his visit will have on coronavirus rates in the country. The 84-year-old called for an end to extremism and violence and for all religions to live together in peace. Here's our senior international correspondent John Irvine on the Pope's pilgrimage. And finally, the pandemic has produced many heroes, and perhaps few are as important as Professor Sarah Gilbert. The British scientist led the team which developed the successful Oxford vaccine, one which could save countless lives around the world. And that is it. Raggie's here at 10:20. Bye-bye for now.